Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
I want you, Captain America, to help me rebuild the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yes, sir.
We are the Thunderbolts!
Can't call ourselves that.
God, thank you.
When I became president, first thing I asked was about the secrets. Aliens. Who killed JFK? You're the only one I really trust. I'd like to talk to you about the future.
And welcome back to another episode of Movie Punditry, a very different episode because life has been lifing for me and I'm not caught up on anything. So it's going to be like me interviewing Mike. Mike, how you doing?
I'm good. I feel so special.
Oh man, how's things been with you?
Things are going pretty well. We're just down here. The weather's starting to turn really, really nice down here in sunny Florida. And it's dry. We need a little rain, but other than that, things are going pretty well. How's things with you?
As the kids say, life is life, and I think I'm at that stage where like one is 9, one is 4. So like the 4-year-old has different. He's on the spectrum, so he has different like therapies he needs to go to twice a week. The 9-year-old is playing sports, so it's all those things that come with having kids of that age. And yeah, life is life. But other than that, I can't complain. I'm alive, got my health. Not gonna complain at all. Let's start off with the last 2 episodes of The Last of Us. So I did see the episode where Joel, was unalived. One of the things I was concerned about with this season was how close it would stick to, the game. And there appears to have, gotten the major points down. I did think that they would try to stretch out Pedro Pascal being on the show longer, and they didn't, which I guess is.
So he is still going to be a big part of the show. So, in terms of the game, Joel is like, it's like the first thing that happens is Joel is killed, but he's still a part of it. There's a lot of flashbacks. There's a lot of, what's going to happen. We still have a lot of stuff that we need to find out about filling in that 5 years between Denver and the start of this season. Mainly, I'm thinking, like, why is Ellie so mad at Joel at the beginning of the season?
Okay, so
I mean, I know the answer. But
yeah, and that's what I was trying to find, like how much, because she knows the truth. Like she knows he lied. Yeah.
Well, I think she knows. I think she knows he lied at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
But when they get to Jackson, and she's like, that last scene, she's like, "Are you absolutely telling me the truth?" And he's like, "Yeah." And you see this look on her face. She's like, "Okay." It's like, "You're lying to me. I know you're lying to me, but I'm going to accept the lie." But I don't think at that point she knew the scale of the lie.
From what I played in the game, I don't think she knew the scale of the lie until Abby killed Joel. And even then, it's not until he gets. I think it's even a bit further than that. And even with that episode, it did follow a large portion of the game because I would say he's probably dead within like 40 minutes of you starting the game. But it was still pretty shocking that he got unalive that quick,
But also the difference is in the game, like Abby comes in and Abby kills him, and you have no idea who she is.
Oh yeah. You don't know who she is.
It's just completely random. Whereas in the show, they're kind of like they're giving her a little backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I understand that, it's probably just you know, you have a TV audience versus the game audience, and you're not going to get the opportunity because if you're not familiar with the game, Abby comes in, kills Joel right away, and this is the inciting incident for Ellie's journey. But at one point, you start to play Abby.
Yes, you play
Now
a
you
good
play
portion of
through
that game.
Abby's story. So not only does she become not a stranger to you, but she becomes almost sympathetic to you. You
Yes.
know, like a character that you understand her motivations. Since the TV show is structured differently, they had to kind of give us that up front a little bit, I think. If that makes
And
sense.
it's funny because even with the game and seeing in the show, I still don't feel any sympathy for Abby. And I probably should, because the man unalived her dad and all those people she knew. And I'm just like, nah, you're the villain.
Yeah, well, they definitely have her set up that way,
Yeah.
which is fine. Um, and they kind of changed around a little bit and like who was involved and who was there, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that all that doesn't really matter. That attack was insane, though.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't like a Game of Thrones guy, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so it was very reminiscent of Game of Thrones. Like I was getting real for those of you guys out there who are Game of Thrones vibes. It's kind of Hard Home, Reigns of Castamere, and Beyond the Wall all kind of combined together. It was really, really scratching that itch that the big battles in Game of Thrones used to have.
And it's interesting because that was something that did attract me to that game is the brutality and how I guess I'll say realistic the fights were. Um you hear like the people panting and out of breath, and it's not like a typical action adventure game where your character is, this otherworldly karate expert. No, it's a lot of like flailing and falling on one of another and being tired and it seems like they've carried that over to the show pretty well. For me, a
Well,
little too well.
that's one of the things that I thought they did really well is like when you have this horde and they first like come out of the snow and they're like chasing after Abby. It's like they're not like coordinated at all. They're literally tripping over one another and
Hmm.
stumbling over, whatever's going on there. And I kind of I appreciate that they put that level of effort into it. Um, Instead of just having to be like mindless, a mindless horde that's, like a flock of birds all turning at the same time.
So, what was this most recent episode about?
So in the this episode, The Path is basically Ellie and Dina begin their journey to Seattle, really. Um, they decide, it starts off like 2 weeks after the attack. They're rebuilding the town. They buried everybody in a field outside of the town. They're rebuilding the walls. They're getting everything kind of back together. Ellie's in the hospital. She she's having this recurring, she keeps seeing Joel being murdered over and over again, but finally she kind of works through that, and she has a meeting with what's her name, the psychiatrist, I can't remember, but she like meets with her,
The
and
psychiatrist
then
who her husband Joe killed?
yeah, well, we don't really have that story yet either. Um and they Dina comes to see her. They decide that they want to do this. They want to go after. Like Dina's got all this information. Dina is like the smartest person in the show, and she clocked everything about these fireflies, who they are, where they're from, and so she's laying it out for Ellie, and then Ellie decides, they decide that they're going to go to Tommy, and Tommy says, "Well, we need to bring it to the council if we're because they're trying to put like a posse together, and the council votes them down, and so they decide they're going to go anyway. So then the two of them go.
Why the council voted down?
Because the argument that people make is we barely survived that last attack. We're still recovering from that last attack. We lost all these people, and now you want to take 16 of our best people and send them off on some vengeance mission.
That's
No,
true.
we're not having that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. And how would you say the episode went? But like, were you a fan of it? It was good, or
it was good? No, it was good. It was kind of like a breath. Like there was no big action scenes. It was, obviously that's coming, but it was very much setting up for what's to come. And at the end of the episode, they're just kind of at the outskirts of Seattle. Now there's another piece to it where they come across. There's these people who are leaving Seattle, and we meet them, and they're in the woods, and then somebody attacks them, and you don't really know who. They're kind of assuming it's the wolves, but you don't really know. And then they come across them. And there's a similar scene in the game, but this is a little more visceral, and I'll leave it at that. But there's no real like big action scenes. There's no big moments, which from a narrative point of view, I get that, but also from like a real budget, like you can't stage a big battle every episode, They just, sometimes you just have to have, two people in a room talking, and they do a bunch of that, but it's really good.
I like it.
I do, yeah.
Try to catch it up. Okay, so some Star Wars news.
Yeah, so unbeknownst to almost everybody, they held Star Wars Celebration last weekend in Tokyo. A lot of people who were like even in the business were kind of like, "Oh, there's Celebration? What? They're doing it?" So they did make some announcements, and I will take all of these with a grain of salt. I think I texted you about them, and I'm like, I don't believe any of this until I see a trailer, not a teaser, a full trailer. Meaning that they've done production, they've done some effects, and they're really setting up, because we've been just teased too many times with oh, Rian Johnson's doing a trilogy. Oh, D&D are doing a trilogy. Oh, there's going to be an Obi-Wan movie. Oh, there's going to be a Rogue Squadron movie. Patty Jenkins is doing a movie. And, I've had it. Just give me a damn movie.
To a podcast, and the host was like, yeah, they've announced 6 movies that are never going to come out. And I guess, who's directing the Starfighter movie?
That is Sean Levy.
So they go, oh, that's coming out, and it probably won't be good, but his movie will definitely come out.
But that will come out, and yeah, they've already paid Ryan Gosling to be in the movie, so that they will probably produce that movie.
Yeah.
Mandalorian and Grogu is definitely coming out.
Yeah.
They've already been in production on that. There is supposedly the Rey movie, maybe.
That's been battered around for a while now.
It's been battered around for a while now. It's odd that like Starfighter came out of nowhere with a date, and the Rey movie, which has been talked about for like a year, because they announced that at D23, does not have a date.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that got bumped, maybe. Simon Kinberg is supposedly working on a trilogy, but how many trilogies have we heard about? Taika Waititi is working on a movie, supposedly. Those last 3, like I said, I'll believe them when I see them.
And the thing with trilogies is the first one has to be good too, right, before you can,
Well, Yeah, the only trilogy is the one that Simon Kinberg's working on. The other ones are standalone movies, although the Ray movie supposedly might be the jumping off point for a new trilogy if, if everything falls into place. So,
Oh, I saw there was a game announced too.
maybe.
I guess. Have you familiar with XCOM?
Yeah.
So the it's like a offshoot team that worked on XCOM is working on the Star Wars game, and it's pretty much in the same vein of espionage, turn-based Star Wars game. Which
Yeah, yeah. Zero Company.
yeah. So, you know, I struggle with turn-based games. I see the appeal of XCOM for a lot of people, and I can, see it and go, "Oh, this looks really good," but it's not for me.
Right.
Hopefully, it finds an audience because as funny as before we started this, I've been playing Outlaws, and I'm slowly making my way through it, but it's getting really good, and I hope you know it's like I know there's a spring sale going on right now on Xbox, but I hope more people this game gets in the hand of more people because it's a really really good game. I finally got my ship, and you get to control the ship in outer space and hop from planet to planet. I'm still I've only like left one road and got to another one, and I'm trying to fix some things on the ship. I've got my speeder. I'm zooming around a Tatooine. It's not Tatooine, but it looks just like it, and it's really good. So, folks, if you're out there listening, and you have an Xbox or a PlayStation, definitely pick this game up, especially with the state of the video game industry. It's like they put so much money in these AAA games, and if they don't make a certain amount, they just get rid of the whole team.
Yeah.
What else was announced?
So the big news was that Kathleen Kennedy announced that she's stepping down as president of Lucasfilm.
How would you rate her tenure?
That does not mean she's retiring. She will still be on as a producer, probably at least on all the announced projects so far. But, in terms of like the day-to-day management of the brand itself, they're going to be probably finding somebody else to do that.
How would you
They
rate
have
her
not
tenure?
announced. They have not announced who that's going to be. And then they had a big panel, obviously, for season 2 of Andor. You haven't watched that, right?
No, but
At
how
all.
would you rate her tenure?
What's that?
How would you rate her tenure as president?
As president, it's been Midland. As a producer, she's fantastic. As, heading the studio, it's okay. And given, what I said about they just keep announcing stuff and not doing it, announcing stuff and not doing it, turning a corner here, turning a page there, you know, the whole sequel trilogy thing, which really annoyed me and a lot of other fans, the fact that, The Force Awakens comes out and JJ's like, okay, I'm done. You know, I didn't plot this out. I didn't plot this out. The next filmmaker is going to take this on. And then, they bring Ryan Johnson in and he's doing his film and everybody's talking about how great this film is. And, JJ is like, oh man, I wish I could have directed the script. It's brilliant and blah, blah, blah. And then the film comes out. People love it. People hate it. And they feel like they need to make a pivot. And, they fire Colin Trevorrow. JJ comes back. They make this film that nobody wanted.
Everybody
And
hated.
everybody hated. And, you know, just because they had a knee jerk reaction to what the fans are saying, and it's just and just stuff like that. It's just I don't know. I mean, there's been some really good stuff. Like Bad Batch is great, Rebels was great, um, Mandalorian obviously is a great show, but they also had some big misses. I mean, Obi-Wan, Boba Fett. How do you mess up Boba Fett?
That was crazy. Who was in charge of that one?
Um, the in terms of the producer,
Like producer, director, who was in charge of that show?
that was Favreau.
Damn. Damn.
But it was Favreau and Robert Rodriguez, but it was largely Favreau.
Yeah, he got to answer some questions for that one. Definitely got to answer some questions for that. Did they announce anything MCU related at this?
No, this was Star Wars Celebration. It was just Star
Okay.
Wars. I will say that Andor season 2 is really good so far. They dropped 3 episodes. So what they're doing is they're doing 3 episodes a week for 4 weeks,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. That sounds good.
and every group of episodes is basically like one story. So it's like a mini movie,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a time jump in between everyone.
Do I need to have seen season one to watch this?
You you probably want to at least be familiar with some of the characters. I think it's I mean, at very least you want to watch there's like a good couple of good quality like recaps and primers on Disney Plus.
Okay.
I want to think at the very least you want to watch that stuff just so you can understand who some of the characters are. But it's a different story. Um and so as long as you understand like who's who, then you'll probably be okay. You
Have
don't
no.
necessarily need like the narrative beats of the first season, but you need kind of to know who the players are.
Okay. So I'll find something on YouTube to catch me up to speed.
There's stuff right on Disney Plus. Like there's like a get ready for
Oh,
there's
okay.
like a whole section of like get ready for Andor, and it's like Andor a look ahead, I think it is, and it's got like recaps, it's got interviews, it's got kind of getting you all set up for the episode. I think if you go through that stuff, you'll be fine.
Okay. I'm looking at that. I
But
just
then,
got
but
so much to
then,
catch up on.
so it's like a year. So the first 3 episodes are like a year from the end of season 1. A year passes, and now we're here, and then it's going to be like another year jump for the next 3 episodes, all the way up to basically butting up against Rogue One at the end.
You know what I need to find out where, now that you say that, like, where does this game fit into the timeline of Star Wars?
Where
Because
does
there's
the show?
no the game I'm playing,
Oh,
because I see him stormtroopers and they look like, it's funny when I say old school stormtroopers, pre First Order stormtroopers. And Rogue One is like right before A New Hope, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Rogue One, actually, the end of Rogue One is basically the beginning of A New Hope. So Outlaws takes place 3 years after Return of the Jedi. No, sorry, 3 years after A New Hope.
So
So
that
it's
would be
so
like,
on the timeline, it's like in between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
okay. This is where I kind of wish that they do what James Gunn is trying to do and like make all this stuff canon. I mean, no one said it's not. So it sort of could be. But like now, like this kind of makes me see what James Gunn vision is, like trying to tie everything together. And then you kind of make the fan have this, not sure what the word I'm looking for is. There's like a different worldview of the property that you're interacting with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
All right. So have they announced who's going to step up with her stepping down?
There's some speculation. Um, I don't think it will be like people have been saying Filoni, and I don't see that happening. He's just not really that kind of guy. Um, he's more of a creative. He's not like the business guy. So I think it's got to be somebody who's like got like kind of a broader sense of how the business works, and Filoni is probably not that person. Um, it could be it could be Favreau. I don't think it's going to be Favreau. It
Yeah, I
could
can't
be,
see that.
yeah. Um, People have been talking about Emma Watts, um, who's a studio executive who worked at Fox. Um, People have been talking about there's another producer who worked with JJ. Her name is Hannah Mangala. People have been talking about her.
What does that role entail? Like, what is your biggest responsibility?
Wrangling talent, mainly just steering an overall direction. um you know Working the business side of it, making budgetary decisions and staffing decisions, and basically green lighting projects across the whole spectrum of
Mm-hmm.
things that Lucasfilm is touching: TV, movies, video games, all this stuff going on. And basically everything that touches Star Wars at some point comes back to Lucasfilm. I don't know how much input she had to like Galaxy's Edge and stuff that turned out to
Mm-hmm.
be kind of a non-starter. Um, I don't know how much she has to do with the park side of things, if anything, but in terms of the entertainment side of it, especially film and television, basically every one of those projects is something that she said, "Yeah, let's do it."
Okay. So it doesn't require you to be like this creative person.
Not necessarily. It's kind of probably more of a business side of it, and like an overall direction side of it, but she's not like down there picking out costumes and designing sets and doing storyboards, like none of that
Yeah.
stuff. Although she is probably picking out, hiring the people who are doing those things, at least at a higher level. Certainly you're hiring the directors.
That that's gonna be a tough job to do because on some level you gotta listen to the fan base. But this is a really weird fan base. It's
Star Wars has got the worst fans. So they've
yeah.
got the best fans, but they've got the worst fans.
And you kind of just gotta stay off the internet. Just stay off the internet. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of because, like, I mean, you see the takes. They're the worst.
Oh,
You know what I
they
think?
absolutely are. But
And
sometimes they're the best. Star Wars fans are like, they are some of the most passionate, love the brand, love everything about it fans that there are. But like anything, some of that leans over into obsession, and it's like, no, you need to do things the way that I want to do them. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. It's like look at the Raylos. It's like
the
they're
Raylos.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
The people who wanted like Kylo Ren and Rey to live happily ever after at the end of the third movie. That was never going to happen.
he was a murderer.
Well, besides that, he's a tragic hero. He's a tragic figure. He was never going to live happily ever after.
He killed
Like, you
his
don't understand
dad.
how storytelling works if you think that's what was going to happen.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. I think Star Trek might have the best fan base.
Star Trek has the absolute best fan base.
It just seems much more level-headed, realistic. I wonder if it's because it's a smarter show
It
in well
maybe
series.
it's well, it's because one, because it's an entirely different genre, right? It's science fiction, where Star Wars is more fantasy. But it's also it's not about the pew pew. It's about, figuring out the problem and solving the problem through our ingenuity and through our our belief in one another and our belief in our values is
Yeah,
really what Star Trek is about. Not so much the very latest iterations of it, but traditionally that's what Star Trek is about versus Star Wars, which is more archetypes and good and evil and pew pew and space magic, and
space magic.
it's an action adventure movie wrapped up in wizards and princesses and black knights, so it's a whole different ball of wax.
I'm trying to think what else do we have on the docket? How much time do we got?
About 6 minutes maybe.
What else have you been watching? Um, we because I haven't seen Daredevil, so I want to save that for when I get to see it. What else have you been
Okay.
watching?
Well, I watched. Yeah, I mean, I watched that. I watched. I've been on a Superman kick lately, honestly.
Like all the Superman?
Like Superman movies, yeah.
Okay. Are you cramping yourself up for
Yeah, I
July?
am. Yeah, and you could expect that I'm going to do some stuff on it. So,
Okay.
but um, yeah. So I watched Superman Returns. I haven't watched that movie in probably 15 years.
Uh,
You know what? It's not as bad as I remember it.
I think we talked about this on a show that it wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. And I think there was a different expectation for that film, and that's why it caught a lot of flack.
So I'm watching right now. I'm kind of in the middle of watching Superman 2, the Donner cut,
Hmm.
which is so Superman Returns is kind of a direct sequel to that,
Okay, now is you saying it's a direct sequel to the Donner cut?
to the Donner cut, because the end of the Donner cut is different than the Lester cut.
So what happens at the end of the Donner cut?
I haven't gotten there yet, but
Oh,
I know
okay.
it's different.
All right.
But I know it's different. And honestly, believe it or not, I've never seen it.
Mm.
I've never watched it. I've only ever seen the theatrical release, and right from the beginning, it's completely different. And I'm like, wow, this movie has a whole different tone.
Where can I find it?
It's on. I think it's on available on Prime. Um, you can rent it. You can buy it. I don't think it's stream. It's not streaming anywhere. I had to buy it.
Now I think I'm going to watch Superman Returns again. That was a good movie. I saw it in the theaters.
Which one?
Superman Returns.
Yeah, that's on H. That's on Max.
That wasn't bad. You know what I think? I'm trying to think what else came out around that time. What was going on?
96.
Superman Returns came out in 96?
Yeah.
Brandon Roth?
No. Oh, Brandon Roth. Yeah, Brandon Roth, right? Yeah.
90. Why do I feel like I was in high school?
Oh, maybe no. I'm sorry. Was it 96? No,
No, 2006.
2006. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think what else was out at that time. Because I just had this feeling some of the Prestige,
That was,
Ultraviolet,
yeah. I mean, Last
Casino,
Stand came out that year.
Casino
Um,
Royale, Deja Vu.
Casino Royale came out that year. Um,
Butterfly Effect, Children of Men, 16 Blocks.
The Departed came out that year.
I can't blame it on what was out at the time. John Cena, The Marine,
The Marine.
Apocalypto, Night at the Museum, Apocalypto, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one.
No,
Yeah, I don't know.
no, not the first one.
Dead Man's Chest.
Yeah, that's the third one.
That was the third. That was good. Yeah, I don't know. Just I don't know. I gotta go back and read the reviews and see why. Maybe people wanted more action.
I think it's kind of cerebral.
Yes,
It's like close enough to the two Donner movies that you can see it fitting in, but it's different enough that's a little disjointed. Um, you have Brandon Routh, who's a very different person than Christopher Reeve. You have
Spacey,
Spacey, who's very different from Gene Hackman.
and I liked
Um,
his Lex.
I did like it. This time I watched it, I really liked his Lex. I mean, say what you want about Spacey as a person, but the man is a phenomenal
Oh yeah,
actor, and it's pretty quick to just sink into his performance, and he was really, really good. And our boy Marston's in it.
it's my guy. It's funny you said it because uh, I think I just put on. I got YouTube music and I just hit like radio, and some R. Kelly songs came up, and I'm like, ugh,
Yeah,
these are really good.
they
I
slap, but so does
know
he.
he's not talking about adult women in these songs. And it was funny because I remember my dad, we were talking about that. And he goes, look, he goes, I love James Brown. He is a horrible human being.
Yeah, and that's where you get into this philosophy of like the death of the artist, and does the art stand on its own?
I think the thing with R. Kelly is just knowing who the subject matter in these songs really is about.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he's okay, so he's making songs about this thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Where if it's like a filmmaker, you can go, well, this is
Well,
a
I mean,
movie.
sometimes they'll make a movie about the
Oh
thing,
yeah.
but sometimes they're just making a movie or they're just acting in a movie, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
really good in this movie.
Like if you're a fan of UFC football, you're not like, oh man, just gonna give back all those OJ Simpson wins.
Yeah.
Nah. And man, that is tough. But anything you want to say before we head out of here?
No, I'm good, man.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us. Sorry, this is a short episode, but life has been life is life, and get through this phase, and then things can pick up, be more consistent on my end.
All right, folks, that is about the end of the episode. So we want to thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.